Guess what? I got a fever.
You give me fever, fever in the morning, a fever all through the night.
We need Jalen Hylett, Cedric Tillman, Velus Jones, one of these young men to come through at the NFL level, and let's see what happens.
So, keeping with our corny teacher theme, our our anticipatory set, John, is what is one player that you want the most shares of in Devy or college fantasy, your pick, and does that answer say anything about your approach?
I'm going to get beat up about this, but it's KJ Jefferson of Arkansas.
Okay.
Look, you can get him in a Devy league, 3rd or 4th round. I'm sorry. Size matters. I'm a sizist. Please, Tank Dell and Deuce Vaughn, loved them. Had them on college fantasy football rosters. They're not making an impact at the NFL level. They're just not. They're too tiny. KJ Jefferson, 6'3", 245.
Fun to watch, though.
Oh,
like in the preseason. Tank Dell made a really fun play that he'll never make in an NFL game.
And once they put full man-to-man pressure on him, I mean, you imagine him with Richard Sherman in his prime, just physically like knocking him to the turf. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole. I've been watching playoff games from the 70s and 80s. I mean, what these defensive backs were doing. I mean, Tank Dell. Look, I liked him at Houston. But that's another story. Look at what Anthony Richardson did, and I don't think KJ Jefferson is that far off. Last year, Anthony Richardson's numbers were not good passing-wise. KJ Jefferson's passing numbers are much better. He's a better thrower. Might not have the arm strength. But what if he's going to start now? We're recording this. It was announced on Monday, right? It's Wednesday. It was announced on Monday that Anthony Richardson is going to start. Now, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I did not think he was going to start day one. People are going to look at if Anthony Richardson is successful, and I think he's going to be a quarterback down the road. I just think he needs time to develop. If KJ Jefferson leads Arkansas to a good season, which I think there's a lot of talent on that Arkansas team, man, he's going to shoot up draft boards. I have him in all 3 of my Devy leagues because he's coming at I don't have to spend anything on him.
Jesse, how sad is it that you and I probably have more Devy leagues than Mr. College himself, John?
Oh, well, so you want to hear what's sad, Brian?
We are degenerates. We don't know we don't know half of what you know about Devy.
I'm like, oh, Devy, okay, sure, I'll take this guy.
Well, I have 10 season-long college fantasy leagues.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing 2 more right now, and then I have 1 more. So I'm going to have to manage 13 college fantasy football leagues.
Ooh.
And the reason why I made a choice, start back to earlier, digress to our beginning of the show. I made a choice. I want to do more college fantasy football just because I think that's where my readership is, if that makes any sense. So I like Devy because I've been scouting for years now for my draft profiles on Football Diehards and then on the rookie big board. So I do know all the rookies and the players, but I don't. And I'm actually drafting my second Devy league starting next Thursday. So we're going to do the NFL draft first and the Devy draft afterwards. So that'll be my second Devy league. But yeah, I mean, it just is a matter of trying. I'd rather manage 2 or 3 teams well than do like 10 teams. Like I only have 4 dynasty teams. People might think that's crazy, but I'd rather look at Brian. I'd rather manage my dynasty, and I want to be able to put my full effort into the dynasty Devy. So I just that's the only reason, because I got to do all the NFL profiles in the spring. Got to do all my college stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not managing my teams very well. I'm just an addict, and I can't say no. KJ Jefferson, by the way, 68% completion percentage last year. 24-5 TD to interception ratio, already projected as a 3rd rounder on NFL mock draft database, whatever that counts for. So, and has Richardson size. So interesting guy to take a look at. All right.
And he's going to be in. Here's the good news: we're going to know within a year. It's not like the freshman who we got to wait 3 years at the quarterback position. Like, I mean, I'm going to know pretty quick if KJ Jefferson's going to be a prospect or not.
Head of the class, John. Who is a guy or two, say, in each of the Devy classes that like new Devy managers, should know about? We talked about Singleton in 25. We talked about a few of these 26 quarterbacks. Any other real big names that you want to put on people's radars? Before we're going to give you a chance to do like some deep cuts, but what are some head of the class guys you want to put on people's radars?
All right, I'm going to give you one who I'm very interested in this year, and we'll go deeper later on the other one that popped in my mind. At running back, we'll go a couple positions. Trey Benson, Florida State. He's getting a lot of buzz lately. 6'1", 215. He's averaged 6.3 yards per carry in his college career. He has 10 touchdowns. Not a great receiver, but he's in Mike Norvell's system. My friends, have you heard of Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard, Darrell Henderson, all from Mike Norvell, and there's others. They're just not popping in my mind right now. Mike Norvell coaches up the running back position. He was at Memphis, and he got a significant amount of running backs into the NFL level. And it is hard to go from G5 and make it at the NFL level. He's gotten 4 of them. I can't remember the 4th name right now, and that's getting me so mad. Now he's at Florida State. What?
Repeat the name that you're telling us.
Antonio Gibson, Darrell Henderson.
I'm sorry, the college player that you're talking about.
Mike Norvell. Norvell.
Mike Norvell is the college player.
No, he's the coach.
Oh, yeah. So who's the player that he's coaching up right now? Is what I want to know.
Trey Benson at Florida State.
Trey Benson. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
6'1", 215.
Gainwell.
Oh, Kenny Gainwell. You're right. There you go. Yeah. I mean, think about what he did at a G5 level, gentlemen. Now he's got NFL talent in the backfield. Arguably, they're definitely a preseason top 5 team. Some people think they might get into the playoffs. They have to beat that LSU game is going to be hard opening day. But after that, Florida State's schedule opens up. He's got NFL size. He's got NFL skill set, run between the tackles. He can get on the outside. He's good in space. Norvell knows how to coach these young men up. What also I like about Norvell is he feeds the bulldog. He's going to give Trey Benson everything he can carry. All the touches. Look at what he did at Memphis with his backs. They got touches. Antonio Gibson played wide receiver. They were so loaded in the backfield. Think about that, folks. He's going to give Benson about 250 carries this year. If he goes out and has about 1,300 yards season, he might be a second-round pick at the NFL level. And
if he plays well and they're in the playoff, because people are calling him a national title contender, like that's a guy you could flip now before he breaks his femur, that's a good guy. Yeah,
I absolutely got to know Trey Benson the name. Now let's go to the wide receiver position. I'm going to give you a player you may or may not have heard of who might be a little bit off someone's radar because he's had an interesting journey to the NFL. To college, I'm sorry. Antoine Juice Wells at South Carolina.
Yeah, good story.
Unfortunately, I guess his grades were bad. I've never seen total details, so he goes the JUCO route. And he was good at the JUCO level, but then COVID happened, and his team didn't even play. He ends up going to James Madison, but he never played. Remember, James Madison used to be at the FCS level? Then the year that James Madison goes to the FBS and the Sun Belt, Juice Wells goes to South Carolina. Does anyone even know Juice Wells was first team All-SEC last year? Wow. Him and Jalen Highland. I'm sorry, gentlemen. You go first team All-SEC, there's something there.
And he's small from what I remember, right? Go ahead.
6'1", 210. 68 at the FBS level. This does not include what he did at the JUCO or James Madison. 68 receptions, 928 yards, 13.6 yards per catch with Rattler, who we've been kind of making fun of all night. He's catching passes from Rattler. I want to consider South Carolina to be cream of the crop passing game, right? This isn't Alabama, LSU, or even the aforementioned Tennessee. Now, the young man has gotten hurt. I'm hoping he's back first week of the season, if not, at least hopefully the second week. But Antoine Wells should be on your radar, everyone. He's getting draft buzz. And here's what I like about him. He's physical, he's tough, and he can catch balls in the middle of the field. There are still roles for that type of player at the NFL level.
Is there? All right, let's move to we don't have favorite students, wink, wink. So, that's the name of this section. I was going to do teacher's pets here, but like when I think of a teacher's pet, like I think of the student who tries to be the teacher's pet, who's like grade grubbing, and like, why didn't I get I got a 94? Why didn't I get a 97? Can I sharpen your pencil for you? Those don't tend to be my favorite students, but I like the quirkier kind. So, who are some my guys for you in Devy? Maybe not head of the class, maybe not, deep sleepers, just guys that are like, this is a my guy because I'm a size this. This is a my guy because I like Manning and culture. This is a my guy because, P5 systems know what they're doing. I will say, again, I have much shallower knowledge than you do, but Braylon Allen I love as a my guy.
I love Braylon Allen.
And I think at the wide receiver position,
you want to hear great? Did you hear this about Braylon Allen?
No,
he just made Bruce Feldman's freaks list, dude.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no, that's his only thing people told us and I love him. I have him at my Devy number 6 running back. People told us he wasn't athletic. He just made Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Guess what? Yeah. He's really athletic. People have perceptions because he was a 4-star recruit and they want the 5-star kid. He just had 1,000 yards as a 17-year-old who never played running back. Guys, people develop. I teach sophomores and seniors. Do you know what a difference it is to have a 15-year-old compared to an 18-year-old? Let me tell you, imagine this kid was 17. He's going to be drafted at 20. If you don't think he's a different person, different football player, what you get graded at 17 is who you are for the rest. Come on, man. What are we doing here? The kid went out and smashed at the college level, at the P5 level at 17. And here's the kicker. He was a linebacker in high school. He didn't even play running back. What are we doing here? Like, why? Because you watch some film, you don't like his feet? What are you doing?
So I'm sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who were we just yelling about too? My head is spinning for a second.
Braylon
Allen. Okay,
yeah,
I like
yeah.
Braylon Allen too. Thank you.
Yeah. You're gonna ding me because I'm falling in love with a freshman, but Jurion Dickey in Oregon. He's a my guy for me this year in the freshman class. I'm sorry. So go ahead. What are who are some John Laub my guys stamp of approval?
I'm going to give you 2, one at each position. Running back, last round, take Devin Neal, Kansas. Power 5 program. Lance Leopold is a great coordinator of the run game. He might go out and have 1,500 yards rushing. 5'11", 214. He played immediately as a freshman. He had a 1,000-yard season last year. Averages 5.3 yards per carry. 28 career receptions as a true freshman and sophomore. 19 touchdowns already. I don't care about the 3-star recruit. Doesn't matter. I have 2 years of college film. Guess what? 2 years of college film are much more important to me than what he did as a high school prospect. Devin Neal out of Kansas, I like him a ton. I think he's going to be a day 3 running back, but no one's talking about Devin, or very few. Let me just put it that way. Very few. One of my guys. I've been watching him since freshman year. He's a very good running back. He's explosive. He hits a lot of home runs. Kansas, it's the coach. when we talk about scheme and systems, it's the coach. Lance Leopold, who used to coach at Buffalo. Remember, who was the guy who had the Commanders? Jarrett Patterson. Remember how many people liked Jarrett Patterson? Guess who his coach was? Lance Leopold. Look at what Leopold did at Buffalo. Coordinated a great running game. He gets offensive linemen. He gets running backs. He knows what he's doing. Now, Devin Neal fell in his lap. It's a very interesting story. Devin Neal wasn't highly recruited, but he grew up in the same town that Kansas is. He always dreamed of playing for the Jaguars. So he stayed home. So Kansas ended up, I think, with this much better athlete than anyone thought, if that makes sense, right? And this happens. People are wrong. People improve. Players get better. And he ended up going to the Jaguars. And then Leopold comes on campus. Immediately identifies this young man as a player. So I like him very much, and he might not even be on most Devy. If you go in a Devy league, there's a good chance that he's not even on your roster anywhere. I like him very much. Take him. And at the wide receiver position, I love going down to names that people might not be as familiar with. All right. A transfer. Here's a transfer that's kind of interesting, but it's a lateral transfer. I think he's looking for opportunity to grow his name. J. Michael Sturdivant at UCLA.
I have a story about, not a story, but go ahead. Yeah.
He comes from California. He was a leading receiver for the Bears last year. He's going to go to UCLA with more opportunity. He's 6'3", 205. 4-star prospect, 65 career receptions, 755 yards. I like his route running. If he can get peppered with over 100 targets for UCLA this year, I think he has a really nice chance. I like J. Michael Sturdivant. I'm going to be watching him a ton this year.
Jesse, do you have any guys that you're intrigued by or guys that you're wondering about that you want more info on? Because, I don't know, maybe you've heard in the Devy streets that there's some buzz or anybody you want to ask John about?
I love it.
There's a couple guys that Troy Franklin. Can you talk to me about him?
Oh, love him. The only reason I didn't say anything is he's my ninth wide receiver, and there's buzz. 6'2", 170. So you have to be comfortable with his frame. He has incredibly long arms, right? He's incredibly thin. But you know what? I say this, when you watch the film of him, he has like a spider sense. He doesn't take a lot of big hits. Like, I remember Barry Sanders. One of the things how often did you ever see Barry Sanders get whacked? He was so good at slipping and sliding and getting out of bounds and avoiding the big hit. And that's Earl Campbell was the exact opposite, right? Looked for the big hit, and it hurts after a while. Well, Franklin, he squeezes through two defenders. He goes out of bounds instead of taking the big hit. But he's got these long arms. He's got good hands. And you know what I like about him? And he's not as good as Garrett Wilson, so I don't. But one thing that I saw in the Garrett Wilson tape, I said it. He was probably the best second-level separator that I ever saw. I've never seen anyone 15 yards down the field get separation like Garrett Wilson.
Wow.
Troy Franklin, when the play breaks down and Bo Nix is, scrambling, Troy Franklin gets open. Like, he keeps working. And coaches like that. And I'll tell you who likes it more: quarterbacks. Because if they know their receiver is going to fight to get open and fight to make that catch, that quarterback will peak at the last second to get him the ball deep down the field. I like Troy Franklin a lot.
Okay, and one more. This is probably a very deep cut at this point, but whatever happened to DeMarcus Bowman?
He's not even in my top 50.
But wasn't he a good player? He just never seemed to get a chance at 4 schools.
This is where it's very hard as outsider, right? Like, we're not on the campus. I'm watching the little bit of tape I can get. I'm looking at the numbers in my model, drink everyone. And something happened. It could be the classroom. It could be the coaching staff. It could be personality. There are so many factors that we don't have access to. So he's one of those, maybe the system that he went, I think he went to Florida. Didn't Bowman start out in Florida?
He started out at Clemson, I think. There was a story about him not being away from home and being away from Florida was kind of the original why he transferred.
And then he ended up at Florida the second.
Yes, right.
Okay.
And now it's UCF. And
so here's, you know what? Let me tie this back. We don't know Bowman's background. Maybe being outside of Florida, so far away from home, maybe it was too much for the young man. We know that Manning is going to go onto the Texas campus and be fine. But maybe for Bowman, there's things that we don't know that just interfered on his ability to be successful in the classroom and in the culture, a college culture. I mean, there's so many. He could dislike coaching staffs, right? There's so many things. But yeah, I mean, I don't even think I have him in my top. Yeah, I know I don't have him in my top 50. He's probably on what I call my late Devy. Just maybe if he catches 100 passes this year, maybe I'll look at him. But yeah, he's way outside, and that's unfortunate. Eric Gilbert. I would put him in the same boat right now as Eric Gilbert.
Okay, last question.
No, of course.
If you were going to pick up one of these four players on a campus to Canton roster, would it be
hypothetically speaking,
Jamal Banks of Wake Forest?
Yeah, too small. Nope.
Okay. Devin Mockabee of Purdue.
I like him. Very interesting.
DT Sheffield of the Cougars. I'm guessing Washington State's not relevant.
It is. It's the Washington State Cougars. I have to see it. And last one.
You're going to tell me tight ends don't matter, but all?
Oh, Eric All of Michigan?
Of Iowa now.
Oh, of Iowa. Okay.
It's an Iowa tight end. Come on, I got to be some exception.
You know what?
John.
You know what's funny? Mockabee, out of the first three, Mockabee the one I'm interested in, but he's at Purdue, and I don't think he's an NFL prospect. But if you need production for CFF, I like him.
I kind of do.
If you want a guy who's going to give you, but the tight end's so risky. It would be Mockabee and then All at Iowa.
So All is probably the player that you think has some sort of chance to play in the NFL.
Because I'm going to go back to my culture.
Gotcha.
They know how to recruit them. They know what they're doing at Iowa. There's just too much success of Iowa tight ends going to be successful at the NFL level. So, yes, if I'm looking for NFL, I'd probably go for the tight end, even though it makes me cringe. But the other two players, I have no interest. Name a Wake Forest wide receiver who's made it to the NFL.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't.
Sage Surratt.
Yeah, remember the Sage Surratt. And here's the thing. So here's what I've learned. And if you're not constantly learning, I don't know what you're doing in life.
Right on.
Clawson is a great college coach. That coach at Wake Forest, I mean, think about where Wake Forest was 30 years ago, right? Barely a basketball school. Tim Duncan comes. They have some good runs. They have some players, right? But Wake Forest they used to be at the bottom of the, ACC. He's competitive year after year at the highest level. Unfortunately, he's coaching at the same time that we have Dabo Sweeney. Whatever you think of him, Dabo's a great coach. So he's in a competitive disadvantage. But I like Clawson for the college level. But it's the scheme. He doesn't develop NFL level wide receiver prospects. Mm-hmm. They just don't come out of Wake Forest.
So, let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
Just sort of a detour. So then some helmet scouting is, listen, if the data is sticky, it sticks, right? Whether it's right?
No wide receiver made it out of his system. What do you want me to tell you? Yeah. So I call culture scouting.
Okay.
I know I don't call it helmet scouting. I call it culture scouting. I'm going to bank on the head coaches and the programs who know how to develop a position, and we've had a nice track record. I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that makes it tough for some of these schools to get transfers, I would imagine, because
Yes.
if I'm a free agent, I'm looking at, have you produced NFL guys, and then you end up with 42 running backs on the Alabama depth chart.
I mean, if you look at the Alabama depth chart, every year it's insane, dude. I mean, what was the year they had? Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Eddie Lacy, and there might have been a fourth guy who ended up transferring out of Alabama. Because what happens when Nick Saban walks into your room? You're in high school in the living room, and he goes, "I want you to come to Alabama to play running back in here." By the way, I've had Mark Ingram, I've had Derrick Henry, I've got all these guys first. Hey, where are you going to go? And he tells you you're the next guy. Now he doesn't tell you he's also recruiting another 5-star tomorrow morning.
You're the next guy in about 3.5 years, but
Yes. But that matters.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that guys like Roydell Williams or Jason McClellan will stay loyal, because they know they're getting their shot, and they know that if they can perform in a high profile program, that's millions of dollars difference.
That's
than if they go transfer to not even like SMU, like another P5 school.
Brian Robinson.
There's no question that Nick Saban, not only he has to be a good coach, he definitely is a relationship builder. I've seen enough interviews, and I'm big. That's all part of culture. He builds a relationship with these young men, and they stay. But he also has the hammer. Just give me one more year, and you'll be a first-round pick. He has this. At the end of the day, he can go, just give me one more year. Just give me that year, and you're going to be a first-round pick.
John,
yeah, go ahead.
We've mentioned, some fun guys today. Bowman, Spencer Rattler, we've made fun of. Kalen Laybourne, and his story of the 5-star. Zamir White, even, top 2 running back recruit, 2 knees later. He's a straight line runner who needs, with no wiggle and no receiving game, who needs Josh Jacobs to hold out of camp to have a, right. So class clowns, and asterisk on this, because I usually love the class clowns.
Yeah.
So this is not a bad thing, but what other name am I going to use for this corny section of the show? Who are a few players who you're fading, or guys who are slipping in Devy rankings, or guys who are don't believe the hype? The funk is fake on these guys.